Picture this. The late 1800s.
Okay.
A woman traveling the world solo.
Wow.
And not just that, going undercover in an asylum.
Unthinkable back then.
Exactly. That's who we're diving into today.
Someone who defied all expectations.
Absolutely.
Very.
Her name, Elizabeth Cochrane.
But better known as
Nellie Bly, the trailblazing journalist.
Nellie Bly, a name that resonates even today.
And for this deep dive, we've got some amazing sources.
Oh, do tell.
Her own writings, historical accounts, even modern analysis.
So we're getting the full picture.
It's fascinating how relevant her work still is.
It really speaks to her impact, doesn't it?
Totally. So let's rewind to the beginning.
Back to her roots.
1864, Cochrane's Mill, Pennsylvania.
Small town beginnings.
It was actually founded by her father, a prominent judge.
So a pretty privileged upbringing.
You could say that, but it was a stark contrast
Yeah.
to the hardships she would later face.
A bit of foreshadowing there.
And some she even chose to experience.
All in the pursuit of truth.
Exactly. Now, when she was just 6 years old,
Okay.
her father died without a valid will.
That's a game changer.
It plunged her family into poverty.
A complete reversal of fortune.
And to make matters worse, her mother remarried.
Oh, no. And it wasn't a happy ending.
Sadly, no. The man was abusive.
Those early experiences must have shaped her.
Oh, absolutely. You can see it, the seeds of her independence.
And her drive for justice.
Taking root right there.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to her teenage years.
Okay.
She's 18, and she reads this sexist newspaper column.
What was it about?
It was called What Girls Are Good For.
I can imagine.
She was furious and wrote a fiery rebuttal.
I bet that got some attention.
It caught the eye of the editor, George Madden.
He must have seen something special.
He did. What was so compelling about her response?
Well, she didn't hold back. She called out the hypocrisy of, wealthy folks spending lavishly on pets
Right?
while families struggle to make ends meet.
So raw, passionate, and full of conviction.
Exactly. You can hear her voice in those words.
No wonder he offered her a job. And that's how Nellie Bly was born.
Wait, so that wasn't even her real name?
Nope. Elizabeth Cochrane chose that pen name.
Where'd it come from?
A popular song at the time.
There's something almost whimsical about that choice.
It is. This serious, determined woman.
Choosing a playful pen name.
Like a mask for the fierce journalist she was becoming.
And she used that name to tackle some tough issues.
Absolutely. Divorce laws, workplace sexism, the things she saw firsthand.
So she was reporting on what she was living?
In a way, yes. Like she was using the women's sphere.
The limited space women had in journalism?
To her advantage. Reporting from within, but exposing its flaws.
Brilliant strategy.
It was. And it worked. She became so popular.
What happened?
They even sent her to Mexico as a foreign correspondent.
Wow, that's impressive for the time.
It was. But even with all that success.
Something was holding her back.
Exactly. Back in Pittsburgh, the editors wanted her to stick to.
Fluffy pieces.
You got it. The women's pages.
But Nellie Bly had bigger ambitions.
Way bitter. She set her sights on New York City.
The heart of journalism.
Specifically, Joseph Pulitzer's New York World.
She didn't just apply, did she?
Her pitch was brilliant. She proposed writing about
Go on.
the challenges women faced breaking into journalism.
So basically, she got paid to scope out her next job.
Exactly. Talk about turning a limitation into an opportunity.
That's incredible. So she wrote the piece, quit her job.
Arrived in New York, ready to take on the world.
What happened next?
She managed to meet with the managing editor of the World.
John Cockrell.
Right. But instead of offering her a typical beat,
He gave her a challenge.
a big one, he wanted her to investigate Blackwell's Island Asylum.
That was no ordinary assignment.
Not at all. It housed a prison, a poorhouse, and a mental hospital.
A place shrouded in mystery and rumors.
Of horrific conditions. And Nellie wasn't one to just observe,
She wanted to experience it firsthand.
to capture the raw reality of life inside.
And that's where her most daring plan took shape.
She decided to feign mental illness to get admitted.
That's incredibly risky.
It was. But it shows her dedication to uncovering the truth.
No matter the personal cost.
Exactly. Imagine willingly entering such a place in the 1800s.
Putting herself in danger for a story.
It highlights her courage and the lack of understanding back then.
About mental health.
How easily people could be institutionalized.
So how does she pull it off?
She transformed herself, adopted the name Nellie Brown,
Okay.
checked into a women's boarding house, pretended to be confused,
Confused how?
like a frightened immigrant, acted paranoid, spoke broken English.
Wow, method acting to the extreme.
Did anyone suspect? Remarkably, no. Even the judge who saw her.
He believed it.
He was sympathetic, but yes, he thought she was mentally ill.
Newspapers even ran stories about her.
The mysterious waif with wild, hunted eyes.
It's unsettling how easily she was labeled insane.
It really underscores the power of perceptions back then.
And the lack of proper diagnoses.
So she found herself in the asylum, no longer acting.
But surrounded by real patients, real suffering.
Her account of those 10 days is truly harrowing.
What did she find?
Overcrowded, underfunded, negligent staff.
Those are serious accusations.
The food was inedible, baths freezing, patients abused.
Verbally and physically.
Both. Imagine the strength to not only survive that,
But to document it so powerfully.
she witnessed nurses taunting, hitting, even choking patients.
It's hard to even imagine.
They were forced to sit for hours in uncomfortable positions.
A system designed to break, not heal.
Exactly. And one of the most heartbreaking things,
Tell me.
many women were there for unjustifiable reasons.
Like what?
Being poor, having affairs, one couldn't even speak English,
The asylum was a dumping ground for society's unwanted.
regardless of their mental state.
Chilling. Nellie described it as a human rat trap.
Easy to enter, impossible to escape for those 10 days.
She must have felt trapped herself.
Absolutely. Thankfully, Pulitzer's lawyers got her released.
And when she got out.
She didn't hold back. Unleashed a series of scathing articles.
In the world.
Yes, shockwaves through New York and beyond.
She didn't just make vague accusations, did she?
No way.
Yeah.
Vivid, detailed descriptions of the horrors.
Exposing the cruelty to an unaware public.
She described the food, the baths, the punishments.
Making it impossible to ignore.
And she didn't stop there. She testified before a grand jury.
Taking them to the asylum.
Trying to. But by then, everything was spruced up.
A classic cover-up.
Patients moved, key figures vanished.
But she had already shown a light on the truth.
Her detailed accounts were undeniable.
Did it lead to change?
It did. A victory for Nellie and the women suffering there.
What happened?
The city had to take action. Increased funding by $1 million.
Wow, that's huge for that time.
And they implemented reforms to improve patient care.
That's the power of investigative journalism.
Shining a light on injustice, forcing those in power to act.
Unfortunately, those gains are often short-lived.
You're right. Within a decade, the asylum was back to its old ways.
A reminder that systemic change is a long and difficult battle.
It is. But Nellie Bly proved one person's courage.
Can make a difference.
At least for a time. But her story was far from over.
Oh, I bet. From Blackwell's Island, Nellie Bly was about to embark
On another incredible adventure.
one that would capture the world's attention.
So she'd already made a name for herself.
Yeah.
Taking on this incredibly risky assignment.
Right, Blackwell's Island.
Exposing those awful conditions.
And forcing change.
At least temporarily. What could top that?
Well, you know how some people have a bucket list?
Sure.
I think Nellie Bly had a things I'm going to do before lunch list.
That's a great way to put it.
Because her next move,
Oh.
straight out of adventure fiction.
Let me guess, she joined the circus.
Close.
Uh-huh.
1889, inspired by the novel,
Which one?
Around the World in 80 Days.
I see where this is going.
Nellie set out to beat Phileas Fogg's record.
Hold on. She wanted to circle the globe
Yeah.
in less than 80 days. Back then.
It was a pretty audacious goal.
Incredible feat of logistics and endurance.
Especially for a woman.
Right. It was unheard of.
Think about it. Steamships, trains, no airplanes.
So how did she even prepare?
Well, from the sources,
Yeah.
seems like a bit of both, you know, determination and adventurous spirit,
Okay.
but also quick wit, resourcefulness.
To navigate the challenges.
And exactly.
So did she plan meticulously?
I don't think so. Not entirely.
More like a, let's see what happens approach.
I maybe a little bit of that.
Packed light, I imagine.
Single bag, her checkered coat,
Ready to go.
with excitement and determination.
Packing light was smart, considering.
Oh, yeah. All the different modes of transport.
Trains, ships, what else?
Horses, even rickshaws, whatever it took.
And the whole world was watching.
How could they not be?
A real-life adventure in real time.
It was captivating.
How did they keep up with her progress?
She sent dispatches back to the world.
So people could follow along.
But they weren't just dry accounts.
Oh. More like
Vivid descriptions, you know?
of the places she visited. The people.
She was a storyteller.
That's what makes it so fascinating.
Local customs, political insights, even humor.
Like a pioneer of travel blogging.
before the internet even existed.
Amazing, giving readers a glimpse into the world.
Parts of it they could only dream of seeing.
And the public was captivated.
They were hooked.
Newspapers reprinted her dispatches.
There were songs written about her.
Even a Nellie Bly housecoat became a thing.
Can you imagine?
A housecoat. A bit ironic.
For someone always on the move.
Right. But it shows how she captured people's imagination.
Her courage, her independence.
Breaking free from expectations.
Exactly. So the big
Did
thing...
she break the record?
She did.
She really did it.
72 days.
Wow.
6 hours, 11 minutes, and 14 seconds.
That's incredible. What a moment.
Triumphant return to New York.
Must have been an amazing celebration.
Not just a personal victory, though.
What else?
It cemented her status, you know.
Yeah, so.
A trailblazing journalist, a symbol.
Of female empowerment.
Exactly.
It's inspiring.
Especially back then.
When women were expected to. Well,
stay at home.
Exactly. But it seems she wasn't content.
To just bask in the glory.
You're right. She continued to use her platform.
For social justice.
Giving a voice to the voiceless.
So what came next for the woman who had done it all?
Right. Circle the globe, expose an asylum.
Well, in the 1890s, she interviewed Emma Goldman.
The anarchist.
A controversial figure.
Yes. In my notes, I highlighted that.
What struck you about it?
Her ability to approach even polarizing figures.
With?
Empathy. A genuine desire to understand.
Like she could get people to open up.
In a way they wouldn't with others.
It's something that comes up a lot.
Like with Susan B. Anthony.
The suffragist.
She revealed more to Nellie.
Than in countless other interviews.
It speaks to Nellie's ability to connect.
On a human level.
Regardless of background or beliefs.
That likely contributed to her success.
She wasn't just looking for a scoop.
She was looking for the truth.
Absolutely. Now, there's another aspect.
Oh. Tell me.
That some might find surprising.
Okay, I'm curious.
In 1895, at 31, Nellie.
Married.
A wealthy industrialist, Robert Seaman.
How old was he?
70.
Wow, that's quite an age gap.
It is. Do we know much about their relationship?
Not every detail survives, unfortunately.
Of course, but...
It seems there was mutual respect.
Okay.
Genuine affection. Nellie became involved.
It is businesses.
Yes. She even invented things.
She did.
A new milk can design, a stackable garbage can.
Wait, so she was an inventor too?
Seems so. A woman of many talents.
Even after marrying into privilege.
She didn't just settle.
She remained curious, eager to learn.
Always exploring new things.
Sadly, their marriage was cut short.
10 years later.
When Robert passed away.
Must have been devastating.
And she faced new challenges.
She inherited the companies, lacked the financial expertise.
Despite her efforts, she lost everything.
Heartbreaking turn of events.
Did she give up on her career then?
Nellie Bly. Give up. Never.
She was resilient.
And she turned adversity into opportunity.
How?
She went back to journalism.
This time covering
World War I. Even went to the front lines in Europe.
It's amazing the range of her experiences.
From small-town privilege to the depths of an asylum.
From circling the globe to the front lines of war.
Truly a life most could only dream of.
And through it all, she never lost sight.
Of what?
Of her values. Truth, justice, storytelling.
It's to illuminate the human condition.
It's incredible, her journey.
Yeah.
From women's pages to, well...
a powerhouse.
Of investigative journalism.
Breaking barriers.
Exactly. And her legacy continues to inspire.
It does.
There's a monument to her on Roosevelt Island.
Oh, where the asylum stood?
Right on that very ground.
Powerful symbolism.
It is. It's called the Girl Puzzle.
I've seen pictures.
A nod to her first article, her fight for equality.
The faces of women from all walks of life.
A reminder that the struggle continues.
It does, sadly.
Nellie Bly's spirit still resonates after all this time.
Over a century later.
It's amazing. She was ahead of her time.
A true original.
And she proved that journalism
can be a force for change.
Makes you wonder what she'd be investigating today.
What injustices would she expose?
What systems would she be infiltrating?
It's an intriguing thought.
I imagine she'd still be drawn to those stories.
The marginalized, the vulnerable.
Absolutely. And she'd be embracing new technology.
Amplifying those voices.
Maybe she'd even have her own podcast.
Ah, I can see it.
With that mischievous twinkle in her eye.
Right.
Diving into the complex issues of today.
And maybe inspiring a new generation.
Of Nellie Bly's.
To pick up the torch.
To fight for a more just world.
That would be a wonderful legacy.
It would. And that brings us to the end.
Of our deep dive.
Into the incredible life of Nellie Bly.
It's been fascinating.
I don't know about you, but I feel inspired to be bolder, more curious
You'll persist
in pursuing what I believe in.
I think that's the perfect takeaway.
from Nellie's life.
She showed us it's possible.
To challenge conventions, speak truth to power.
And make a real difference.
To all our listeners, learn more about Nellie Bly.
Read her work, explore her time,
And let her spirit of adventure inspire you.
her pursuit of justice,
And never be afraid
to ask those tough
to
questions.
challenge the status quo.
Use your voice.
Advocate for what you believe in.
Maybe there's a bit of Nellie Bly in all of us.
Just waiting to be unleashed. Thanks for joining us.